Hey there and welcome to BingeBot. We recap all the latest and greatest TV shows to help keep you in the loop. Today we're diving into the Hulu thriller Paradise Season 1, which follows Secret Service agent Xavier Collins, who finds himself in the middle of a sprawling conspiracy when the man he vowed to protect meets his demise. As always, if you guys want to support our channel, you can do so via YouTube memberships, Patreon, or Buy Me a Coffee, or just drop us a like for free. Let's get started with our recap of Paradise Season 1, starting with Episode 1, Wildcat is Down. Fresh from a domestic breakfast with his kids after a sweaty jog around a suburban neighborhood paradise, lead Secret Service officer Agent Xavier Collins clocks in for the morning shift at his place of work, the Executive Mansion. Making his morning rounds, Xavier, noting the late hour, knocks at President Cal Bradford's bedroom door, but with no response, Xavier opens the door to the sight of the President of the United States still in his bathrobe and face down on the floor in a puddle of blood. Faced with this horrifying scene, Xavier can't help but remember the first time he had a private conversation with a still-breathing Cal Bradford, who was settling into the Oval Office after a re-election. Welcoming Xavier as his new head of security, Cal invites him in to share a glass of whiskey with him, but politely declining, Xavier sits at attention as Cal entertains himself with a mostly one-sided conversation, after which Xavier gains a strange respect for the irreverent Nepo baby turned president, who looks Xavier in the eye, acknowledges his flaws, and promises that he'll be honest and act as a reasonable and decent person during his time in office. Back in the present, Xavier kneels by the body of a man who had never been just his boss. Calling into his radio, Xavier instructs a confused rookie agent, Jane Driscoll, to quietly shut down the premises after he comes to an open, empty black lockbox. The same black lockbox Xavier knows is supposed to hold a tablet containing information regarding a national secret project. Calling in the man he trusts most, Xavier instructs fellow agent Billy Pace to memorize every possible detail. Not usually one to take life seriously, Billy calms a panicking Jane, whom he has a secret romantic relationship with, and they all get to work. With limited time before the scene is taken from his control, Xavier fast-forwards through the security footage of Cal's last day alive, discovering a chilling 2-hour pause in the night's video. Nonetheless, once they've all gathered the information that they can, Xavier alerts the authorities. Taking the lead in the investigation of the president's murder, Agent Nicole Robinson begins by questioning Xavier on his final exchange with Cal. Reflecting on the previous night, Xavier recalls how Cal stood in front of him, drunk in his bathrobe, asking if Xavier would ever forgive him for what happened. In response, Xavier recounts a story of how he and his late wife Terry chose their children's names, concluding his tale with a chilling remark that he will forgive Cal when Cal is dead.
You want to know if I'll forgive you? I'll forgive you when I can sleep again. And I'll sleep again when you're dead.
Jogging away from the scene in his shirt and tie, Xavier stops, winded, with enough distance between him and his insurmountable problems. He pulls out a pack of cigarettes that had been lying near Cal's body, with a large X on the box. On one side of the cigarettes, a 6-digit number is pinned, piquing his curiosity. Just behind Xavier, an LED sign on the road announces that due to maintenance, dawn will be delayed. While an announcement like this might sound absurd, it doesn't surprise Xavier in the slightest, as he knows the truth of the situation. He knows that the supposed paradise they live in is in fact an underground city-sized bunker located beneath a mountain in Colorado, built to protect them from a doomsday event that took place around 3 years ago. Episode 2, Sinatra. While Xavier helps his kids get ready for school the next morning, Nicole Robinson shows up at his home to collect him for an official interrogation as a witness. On the drive to the interrogation room, Nicole reluctantly admits that she hasn't been able to make any progress on finding out who killed Cal. And hearing this, Xavier doesn't hold back, pointing out that it's suspicious that Nicole is the one leading the investigation, as she was in an open secret affair with Cal.
I just don't understand why, of all the people that could be heading this up, they chose the one person who was sleeping with the victim.
I'm clean, Xavier.
Refusing to let Xavier cast doubt on her integrity, Nicole defends her involvement, assuring him that she had nothing to do with the murder, her alibi checks out, and on top of that, she believes she's the best person for the job as she cared deeply for Cal and won't rest until she finds out who killed him. Elsewhere, in a boardroom full of the wealthiest people in the world, Samantha Redmond, known to her security detail as Sinatra, informs the disbelieving billionaires that Cal Bradford died of natural causes. Despite being the self-made woman that sent private jets to gather the greatest minds on Earth to build the bunker, Sinatra finds herself having to placate the vice president with a nervous disposition, Henry Baines. Panicked billionaires diverted, Sinatra watches as Xavier's hooked up to a lie detector, and while being questioned by Nicole, Gabriella Tarabi interrupts the interrogation. Having Xavier confirm that he recognizes her as Cal's former therapist, Gabriella asks him if a part of him is happy that Cal is dead. While he deliberates, Gabriella covertly opens up her hands with the words "say yes" written on her palm. After Xavier confirms the truth, Sinatra stands with Gabriella, the world-class grief specialist who got her through the terminal illness of her young son years before. With confidence, Gabriella tells Sinatra that she's convinced of Xavier's innocence since the perpetrator would not openly admit to hating the victim like Xavier just did. Walking with Xavier after he's released, Sinatra muses over the legacy that Xavier's father and grandfather left him as groundbreaking pilots. She says that they must have been proud of him as the man who foiled the presidential assassination when Xavier took a bullet for Cal, tackling him during a press conference and saving his life from a deranged conspiracist. Ending their conversation, she informs him that he's being put on leave for 2 weeks, telling him to stay home and take care of his kids, as it's bad enough that he lost his wife, subtly and disturbingly hinting that his children might also be in danger if he doesn't stop looking for answers. Episode 3: The Architect of Social Well-Being. Struggling to keep up during their jogging session the next morning, Billy trades gibes with a fitter Xavier before their conversation turns serious, with Billy expressing his frustration that Xavier is taking the blame for Cal's murder. In response, Xavier implores Billy not to act rashly and to keep quiet about their suspicion that it's the corrupt government that orchestrated the president's assassination. Hunting down Gabriella at her office afterward, Xavier wants to know why she helped him during the interrogation. Gabriella insists that they go for a walk, suspecting that her office is bugged by Sinatra. As she was handpicked by Sinatra to socially engineer a healing environment for the inhabitants, Gabriella also had the confidence of Cal right before his death. She wanted to be on Xavier's side, but she needs to be able to trust him first, therefore she probes about his father.
I want to know why you stepped in the other day.
I took another look at your file. Tell me about your relationship with your father.
While Xavier and Gabriella build rapport, Nicole's pushing down her personal grief as she rallies her team to solve the murder. Under pressure from Sinatra to deliver swift results, Nicole brings in 2 of her own, Billy and Jane, for questioning after tracking their digital activity and uncovering that they're the ones who've been systematically shutting down the security cameras nightly for months. While Billy initially feigns cluelessness, Jane breaks within seconds, revealing that they stave off the boredom of their uneventful shifts, that they would disable the cameras and spend their nights doing something highly unethical that would get them in serious trouble if anyone found out: playing the president's Nintendo Wii Tennis specifically.
That all adds up to means and opportunity. Now we just need a motive.
We were playing Wii.
Wii Tennis, actually.
What the is Wii Tennis?
After Xavier reluctantly digs into the past, recounting to Gabriella how he exposed his father's worsening dementia to keep him from continuing to fly, Gabriella is satisfied and invites him into her house and ultimately her shower. With the cascading water obstructing any listening devices from their conversation, Gabriella uses the deeply intimate moment to abruptly deliver a crucial warning to Xavier, informing him that before his death, Cal had requested that if anything happened to him, she should find Xavier and warn him that his closest ally, Billy Pace, is in fact dangerous. Episode 4: Agent Billy Pace. Arriving home at an unusual hour after his night with Gabriella, Xavier's in trouble with his teenage daughter, Presley, for not letting her know that he wouldn't come home the previous night. Distractedly watching his unanswered texts to Billy, Xavier's caught off guard by Presley running out, saying she's going to help Jeremy Bradford, Cal's son, set up for his band for the carnival. Concerned about his daughter's developing interest in a boy but having more pressing problems, Xavier drives by Billy's house. Just as he spots Billy through the window, Xavier finally receives a response to his texts that clearly show Billy's indeed hiding something from him. As despite being in his house, Billy lies, claiming that he's already at work and that they would have to talk later. In the past, Billy admits to Xavier over a beer that he's never found a friend to relax at a bar with. After months trapped in the tedium of the bunker, the 2 men bond, Billy wondering what he's supposed to wear to meet Xavier's kids after he's invited over for the first time. Flashing forward to the present, hanging out at the carnival, Uncle Billy jokingly offers to break Jeremy Bradford's arm when Presley confesses that she thinks she's stuck in the friend zone with him. Recounting how he asked Jane out after a night of playing the Wii, he says that the world has ended and Presley should just shoot her shot. Snagging Billy away from Jane as they wait in line for a game, Xavier and Billy have it out, with Billy warning Xavier from asking any more questions, and Xavier demanding outright if Billy killed Cal and if he's a danger to his family. Visibly hurt, Billy denies it, swearing that their family and Xavier's kids are his world before storming away.
Kids, man.
Your kids are my world, man. I'm following them around, making sure nobody gets anywhere near them. You guys are the only thing in this place that matters to me. You know that.
Slamming Sinatra's door into the wall on her way into her office, Billy tells her that he's done everything she's ever asked. He made a new life here in the bunker until she made him a murderer in this life too. Ending his tirade, he stresses that despite the dark past that led him to Sinatra's employ, she better leave Xavier be, or they will have a problem. Getting home that night, Billy contently sits by Jane, who has a beer waiting for him, and begins telling her about the advice that he gave to Presley. Suddenly, though, he feels weak and collapses to the floor, choking, as Jane watches after having poisoned him. While licking funnel cake off of her fingers, Jane watches as Billy struggles through his final breaths, and then, putting on disposable gloves, she drops some loose pills onto the table, framing it as though he took his own life. Approaching the dying Billy one last time, a cold-blooded Jane reveals that his murder was ordered by Sinatra, revealing that her entire relationship with Billy was a mere sham, and further confirming that there's a deeper conspiracy happening within the government.
You told her to send the biggest she had. I'm it, baby.
Episode 5. In the Palaces of Crowned Kings. Finding it strange that Billy did not attend Cal's funeral the next day, Xavier recruits Jane to join him on the way to his house. Finding his body on the dining room floor, Jane fakes her grief while holding him, as Xavier's breaking voice calls in the death. In a flashback, Cal puzzles over some words mumbled by his dementia-confused father, Kane, prompting him to use the presidential tablet to investigate. Despite being the president, Cal encounters a security firewall that even he cannot bypass. Knowing that his father, a wealthy oil baron before the apocalypse, has a higher security clearance than him, Cal uses his father's fingerprints while he's asleep to gain access. Within the hidden files, Cal uncovers footage revealing that an exploration team he'd authorized to assess the Earth's surface had discovered survivors still living above ground. However, under direct orders from Sinatra, Billy mercilessly killed not only the survivors he found, but also the entire team that had accompanied him, all in an effort to prevent the bunker's inhabitants from finding out that the world above was in reality still hospitable.
Then you need to do what we discussed. Agent Pace. Take them out. That's an order. If you can't comply, I'll find someone who will, but don't bother coming back.
In the present, Nicole tracks Xavier down at the bar, informing him Billy's death has been ruled a suicide. In agreement that Sinatra's behind all the premature deaths going around, they sit with their shared mourning and new solidarity. Finding Presley afterward, Xavier has to drop the news of Uncle Billy's death right before instructing her to carefully grab her little brother James and pack a to-go bag, since they will be going into hiding while Xavier and Nicole fix this mess. Next, Xavier goes to Carl, a neighbor who works as the operator of the bunker's artificial sky. Given that Carl owes him a favor, Xavier convinces him to write a bold message in the sky for all to see. They're lying to you. Episode 6. You asked for miracles. Working around the clock to bring the words down after her dome techs are locked out of the system, Sinatra tracks Xavier using the smart bracelet all citizens are required to wear. Discovering it's offline, she checks the other offline bracelets, with both Xavier's kids among them, as well as Nicole. Finding out the last place Nicole accessed was a basement room containing hidden weapons, Sinatra's immediately alarmed, calling for a guard on her family. When the words "they're lying to you" changes into "do you want to know the truth," Gabriella is barely able to convince Sinatra not to reboot the whole sky, narrowly avoiding a psychological blow to the inhabitants by reminding them that they live in a cave. While the town speculates about the messages appearing in the sky, Presley turns to Jeremy for help. Unexpectedly, she reveals that she was there the night Cal was killed, and goes on to pull the presidential tablet out of her backpack. She explains that after she, Billy, and Jane finished a game that night on the Wii, she found the tablet in the bushes. Thinking that it might be useful, she took it, but now that people are dying, she doesn't know what to do with it. Realizing that this could blow the case wide open, Jeremy seeks out the one person who might have the clearance to access the tablet, his grandfather, Kane. Outside, in a spectacle to the tune of "The Way You Look Tonight," the sky asks, "Who is Sinatra?" while counting down from 60. As the crowds gather and the excitement rises, Xavier and Nicole fire off flares when the clock hits 0. The flares, simulating bombs, throw Sinatra into a panic fueled by the unknown. Calling for a complete shutdown, the sky turns into a dark dome, with emergency sirens going off. As Jeremy publicly and loudly reveals the murder of the exploration team to a confused and disordered crowd, Sinatra heads for a safe house along with the other billionaires, but realizing that they were headed into a trap, Sinatra pulls away from the convoy. Refusing to let her get away, Xavier tracks Sinatra to her house, determined to confront her. However, instead of a fight, he finds her unexpectedly calm and unarmed. Initially believing he has the upper hand, Xavier's world is turned upside down when Sinatra drops a bombshell, revealing that his wife is still alive in the world above, and she can help him find her.
Your wife is alive out there, Xavier. can help you find her.
Episode 7. The Day. Back in the past, a newscaster gives live updates on the tsunamis and sound waves resulting from Antarctica's supervolcano exploding and the ensuing devastation creeping across the globe. Bouncing between generals and scientists in the boardroom, Cal flounders for answers while the list of countries wiped from the face of the Earth grows. Despite his limited knowledge that something world-changing was coming, Xavier was unable to convince his wife, Dr. Terry Rogers Collins, to stay in D.C. when her work called her to Atlanta, and now she's stranded, far away from their ride to the bunker. When Cal promises Terry a plane if she can make it to the airport in an hour, Xavier, worried for his wife's life, is grateful. Reality sharpens for Xavier when the president decides to be honest with the public in a live broadcast, revealing the severity of the danger they face, that a world-destroying tsunami, as a result of the supervolcano erupting, is coming for all of them in a matter of hours.
Our modeling shows imminent worldwide disaster, including here at home. I'm telling you this so that you can make decisions based on where you want to be right now and who you want to be with.
As Xavier watches, the panicked public swarms onto White House lawns, forcing the Secret Service to open fire so Cal can make it to a helicopter. And during the helicopter ride to the plane that will deliver them to the bunker, Xavier begins to see how poorly the end of the world has been handled. By the time he knows that his wife had little chance of making it to the airport on time, he becomes furious. Cal understands his grief, but Xavier's kids are already on the plane with his son Jeremy, and Xavier, despite his anger, has no choice but to join them. After learning that countries like Russia and China have resorted to violence to ensure their survival, including launching nuclear strikes towards India and Mongolia, with several more missiles en route to the United States, Cal's cabinet advises him to authorize an immediate retaliation before smoke shadows the skies. Taking a moment to deliberate, Cal knows that while he has the power to flatten what's left of civilization, that is not his only option. An alternative code would allow Cal to single-handedly fry every electronic circuit on Earth, possibly including any nukes in mid-air. As Cal decides to choose the latter and shuts the world off in the past, the future has Xavier still holding a gun on Sinatra while the underground city recovers from the sky rebooting. In total disbelief of Sinatra's revelation, Xavier accuses her of lying. People may have indeed survived and are rebuilding in the above world, but that doesn't mean his wife Terry is. In response, Sinatra plays a recording of a radio transmission in Terry's voice. In it, she states that she's looking for her husband, Xavier Collins, and children, Presley and James, and if anyone knows them, they should tell her that she's headed for the Colorado bunker to find them.
Once again, my name is Terry Rogers Collins. I'm here, other survivors, searching for our loved ones. If you know the whereabouts of Xavier Collins, tell him I love him.
Episode 8. The Man Who Kept the Secrets. On orders from Sinatra, Jane uses her trust to seclude Presley and keep her occupied, but having attained Xavier's cooperation through his wife's recording, and on her way to regaining the city, Sinatra instructs Jane not to harm Presley. In a response that reveals her chillingly unhinged nature, Jane states that she's willing to follow all of Sinatra's orders, but only if she's given the president's we in return. Realizing that Jane is either insane or has her own convoluted agenda, Sinatra loses control of Jane, with in her hands Xavier's unsuspecting teen. In a last-ditch investigation attempt, Xavier heads to Cal's room where he was murdered, listening to a mixtape CD that Cal burned for Jeremy. Playing the recording, Xavier hears Cal mention that he recorded it in the library and casually mentions that he also hid a few national secrets while there. Perceptively, Xavier realized that the number that Cal had written onto the side of the cigarettes was a call number for a library book. Finding the correct shelf in the bunker's only library, Xavier pulls out a handwritten journal detailing Cal's final days alive. As he flips through its pages, he uncovers damning revelations, including Sinatra's deceptions, as well as a carefully crafted plan to escape the bunker. But before he can process it all, the librarian Trent appears and knocks Xavier out with a brutal strike to the back of the head. Coming to, Xavier wakes up to the librarian hovering over him, asking Xavier if he recognizes him. Due to this, Xavier, hands tied behind his back, is thrown into a memory of himself taking a bullet for Cal, while a crazed assassin, who is revealed to be Trent, shouts that everyone deserves to know the truth. Xavier listens as Trent begins to explain his motives, revealing that he has a unique and deeply personal history with the bunker, as he was the project manager in charge of its construction years ago. However, when he discovered that the excavation site contained large amounts of iron arsenic sulfide, a highly toxic substance, Trent refused to continue his work. Despite his warnings about the dangers, though, the powerful billionaires funding the project prioritized their own safety over the well-being of the workers, forcing them to continue the excavation. And as a result, many workers were slowly poisoned and tragically died in the process of building the bunker, including Trent's close friend, Adam. Consumed by grief and anger, Trent resorted to murder and deception to gain access to the bunker, but over time he grew complacent and ended up settling into the community as a librarian. That all changed days ago, though, when he saw a carefree Cal stroll into the library in his bathrobe to hide his book. The sight of Cal, seemingly unbothered by the dark history of the bunker, reignited Trent's long-buried desire for revenge, leading him to do what he did. Finally revealing how Cal was murdered, Trent recounts how he stealthily infiltrated the executive mansion and entered Cal's room. Finding Cal on the balcony browsing the presidential tablet's secrets, he struck him over the head, causing him to drop the tablet into the bushes below. Before everything went dark, Cal had just enough consciousness left to write the book's location on the cigarette and mark the box with an X in his own blood before Trent finished the job. In the present, Nicole finds Xavier soon after Trent plans to escape using the exit outlined in the book. Having skimmed the book, Xavier knows just where Trent is headed, and he and Nicole corner him on the walkways above the panels of the dome. Muttering about the irony of living in a gravesite called Paradise, Trent jumps, crashing through the panels and falling on top of the neighborhood below. With what just happened fresh on his mind, Xavier goes to Sinatra and gives her the name of the librarian that assassinated the president. At peace for the moment, Xavier wants his daughter back. Sinatra, thinking that Jane killed Presley, tells him that she's sorry and that she never intended for things to go this far. Putting his gun to her forehead, it's not Xavier's bullet that hits her chest, but Jane's, who had walked up on the two. She reveals that Presley is fine, safe and guarded at home, with Xavier still not aware of her crazed and dangerous personality. After Xavier runs out of the room, Jane leads over a suffering Sinatra, and realizing that she would be no use to her if she's dead, she decides to keep Sinatra alive. Racing home, Xavier hugs both of his children, who are safe after a dangerous and tumultuous week. Getting word of the president's book and her mother's possible survival, Presley tells her reluctant dad that he's kept them safe, but now it's time to bring their mom home. As the city recovers from the assassination of its president, the revelation of the life above, and the sky shutting down over their heads, Xavier straps himself into the captain's seat of an airplane just outside the dome. And while Jane plays Wii and Sinatra breathes out of a tube, Xavier watches the hangar doors open, preparing to take off, while blinded by the light beyond, but determined to find his wife. Well, that's it for Paradise Season 1. I've got to say, I was pretty impressed with this one, and I wonder what awaits Xavier on the surface, but we're just going to have to wait until Season 2 to find out. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new recap, and if you guys like this video, share it with a friend or just drop us a like. If you want to support our channel further, you can do so via YouTube memberships, Patreon, or Buy Me a Coffee, and unlock cool perks like instant access to our new videos. We'll see you soon, loyal binge watchers, but for now, BingeBot is logging off.